Satan worshippers in black long robes, casting curses and appearing haggard and scary, with darkness and sharp, pointed hats. That seems to be a picture you paint in your head when you hear it being talked about. A boat carrying you sinks because it has a hole in the bottom, and your car breaks down because its battery is dead, but you say it is responsible? Are your thoughts about it true? Witchcraft. Traditionally, the practice or invocation of apparently supernatural powers to influence people or events. Practice is generally about sorcery or magic. Although defined differently in diverse historical and cultural views, witchcraft has often been seen, especially in the West, as the work of crones who meet secretly at night, indulge in sacrifices and orgiastic rites with the devil or Satan, and perform black magic, but there has been a disconnection from the truth of its aesthetics and its essence and association to ancient gods. In this video, you would be going on an adventure into witchcraft beliefs. See the various revelations of witchcraft, the history of its existence, its true motives, and how its perception has evolved following history, as well as the revelation of its essence and connection to the ancient gods. The terms witchcraft and witch derive from Old English witchcraft, from Wicca, masculine, or twice, feminine, denoting someone who practices sorcery, and from craft meaning craft or skill. Wicca is a peaceful, nature-based religion whose adherents revere Mother Earth and believe in the spiritual energy and balance of all things, including both masculine and feminine forms of deity, referred to as the All, the One, or the Universal or Divine Spirit, among other names. Wiccans believe that the Universal Spirit, the All, is infused in all of nature, giving nature, including the trees, flowers, animals, rocks, the sea, and the elements, distinctive energies. Being the largest modern pagan or neo-pagan religion. Its followers, who are called Wiccans, typically identify as witches and draw inspiration largely from the pre-Christian religions of Europe. Followers often use the pentagram, or five-pointed star, as the main symbol of their religion. Wicca is a neo-pagan religion that emphasizes love and respect for nature. Nature is invariably personified in Wicca in the form of a god or goddess. The two most common deities in the Wicca pantheon are the horn god of the forest and a three-part fertility goddess, often referred to collectively as the goddess. In addition to these two primary categories of worship, Wiccans often evoke deities from a wide variety of polytheistic and pantheistic religious traditions. In Wicca and other forms of paganism, the goddess and god encompass the divine feminine and male energies of the universe. For many practitioners, within these energies are countless deities who have existed since before the beginning of recorded history. Gods and goddesses like Osiris and Venus predate the modern religion of Wicca by thousands of years, but have been essentially reclaimed over the past century by those who feel connected to them as a living presence in their lives. Of course, like so much else when it comes to Wicca, how the divine is identified and worshipped is quite diverse. As Wicca evolved over the mid-20th century, it ultimately came to incorporate the identities of several deities who had been worshipped in ancient times. These came most often from the religions of the ancient Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Celtic. From the Celtic pantheon are the following gods: Morrigan, Danu, Brigid, and Caridin, and goddesses Dagda, Lug, Cernunnos, and Herne. From the Greek pantheon are the goddesses Gaia, Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena, and gods Uranus, Zeus, Poseidon, Artemis, and Hades. The Roman pantheon, goddesses Junos, Minerva, Venus, and Diana, and gods Jupiter, Neptune, and Bacchus. Gods and goddesses are Isis, Sekhmet, Bastet, and Osiris, Horus, Seth, and Anubis, respectively, from the Egyptian pantheon. The primary deities in Wicca are the feminine and masculine aspects of the divine. These are the triple goddess and the horned god. A common misconception is that Wiccans worship pagan deities, but that is not the case. Wiccans view the goddesses and the god as the two aspects of the divine. Still, adherents certainly may work with a variety of deities from many different cultures and mythos. There are, however, countless other pagan gods and goddesses, each with their energies and strengths, that Wiccans may call upon in prayer and ritual. In this way, Wicca tends to be a polytheistic religion, meaning that adherents often worship multiple gods and goddesses, often from varying pantheons. There are many controversies surrounding Wicca and other pagan religions. Some see Wicca as appropriating the imagery and the mythos from different faiths, including Christianity. However, the reverse is more accurate. Typical Christian imagery often stems from ancient pagan holidays and beliefs, including Halloween, All Saints' Day, Christmas, Yule or the winter solstice, and Easter, Ostara or the spring equinox. Appropriated symbols include things like decorating the Christmas tree, the 12 days of Christmas, rabbits, which are a symbol of the goddess Ishtar and fertility, and decorating eggs. When Christians sought to convert pagans to their religion, they incorporated these images and ideas to entice pagans to convert. The horned god of the forest is typically seen as the masculine element of nature. Wiccans frequently perceive the horned god as abiding outside the realm of human civilization, in the forest or some other natural landscape. As a distinctively masculine god, he is often depicted with a large phallus, a common feature of male fertility gods across the world. Wiccans often understand the horned god of the forest as the consort and lover of the goddess. The origins of the horned god of the forest are uncertain, but he certainly has analogs in ancient European pagan deities. The Celtic fertility god Cernunnos is often depicted in ancient artwork as having deer antlers and was probably understood as a fertility god. There is very little knowledge about pre-Christian Celtic religions, however, because no written texts survive. Artistic renderings from Gaul during the first millennium CE are all that is known of Cernunnos. The Greco-Roman wilderness god Pan, who has similar associations, is also a likely inspiration for the horned god of the forest. The Norse fertility god Freyr is also a possible connection. He lacks horns but does frequently display a large phallus. The goddess. There is some debate within Wicca regarding the nature of the goddess. Some Wiccans see her as the all-encompassing divine force that brings all other gods and goddesses into existence. This interpretation calls into question the polytheistic nature of Wicca. Many other Wiccans see the goddess, or several individual goddesses, as being equal to and independent from the gods. This interpretation is distinctly polytheistic. Wicca's emphasis on feminine power and the primacy of the goddess in religious devotion is perhaps its most distinctive feature. The goddess is often understood as being of three parts, representing the three phases of the moon. In another sense, the goddess is seen as a universal who has been known by many different names throughout time. Wicca often describes the goddess as being both one and many. In this sense, the goddess resembles the pantheistic tendencies of Hinduism. In all of her forms, the goddess is seen as benevolent and closely connected with the female capacity to bring life into the world. Unfortunately, witchcraft and Wicca have experienced massive threats and cruelty following history. Witches, whether tangible or blamed, still face persecution and death. Several men and women presumed to be using witchcraft have been beaten and slaughtered in Papua New Guinea since 2010, including a young mother who was set ablaze. Similar outbreaks of violence against people accused of being witches have happened in Africa, South America, the Middle East, and in immigrant communities in Europe and the United States. The practice has always never been one that society fully reckoned with, hence the witch hunt exercise, especially the very notable Salem witch trial. The events in Salem in 1692 were but one chapter in a long story of witch hunts that began in Europe between 1300 and 1330 and ended in the late 18th century, with the last known execution for witchcraft taking place in Switzerland in 1782. The Salem trials occurred late in the sequence, after the abatement of the European witch hunt fervor, which peaked from the 1580s and 90s to the 1630s and 40s. Some 3/4 of those European witch hunts took place in Western Germany, the Low Countries, France, Northern Italy, and Switzerland. The number of trials and executions varied according to time and place, but it is generally believed that some 110,000 persons in total were tried for witchcraft, and between 40,000 to 60,000 were executed. The hunts were efforts to identify witches rather than the pursuits of individuals who were already thought to be witches. Witches were considered to be followers of Satan who had traded their souls for his assistance. It was believed that they employed demons to accomplish magical deeds, that they changed from human to animal form or from one human form to another, that animals acted as their familiar spirits, and that they rode through the air at night to secret meetings and orgies. There is little doubt that some individuals did worship the devil and attempt to practice sorcery with harmful intent. However, no one ever embodied the concept of a witch as previously described. The process of identifying witches began with suspicions or rumors. Accusations followed, often escalating to convictions and executions. The Salem witch trials and executions came about as the result of a combination of church politics, family feuds, and hysterical children, all of which unfolded in a vacuum of political authority. However, modern-day witches of the Western world still toil to shudder off their historical stereotypes. Most practice Wicca, which is a legal religion in the United States. Wiccans block evil and appearance of evil at all costs, hence their motto to harm none, and they strive to live a peaceful, tolerant, and balanced life in alignment with nature and humanity. Many modern-day witches still practice witchcraft, but there's seldom anything demonic about it. Their spells and enchantments are often derived from their Book of Shadows, a 20th century collection of wisdom and witchcraft, and can be compared to the act of prayer in other religions. A modern-day witchcraft potion is more likely to be an herbal cure for the flu instead of a charm to harm someone. Today's witchcraft spells are most of the time used to stop someone from doing evil or harming themselves. Ironically, while it's likely some historical witches used witchcraft for evil purposes, many have embraced it for healing or protection against the immorality they were charged with.